All right, everyone. Hello, and let's get today's session started. My name is Ari. I am the EMEA Marketing Coordinator at eFolder, and I'm your host for today's session. Welcome to this eFolder Expert Series. This webinar series brings together eFolder experts from our staff, as well as our partner community, for a deep dive discussion on key services and technical topics. As you can tell, today's presentation is all about security myths and realities of data that is stored in cloud applications. Now, before we go through the agenda, I would just like to cover a few housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded, and the recorded version of the webinar will be made available to you on eFolder's YouTube channel, but we will also send copies of both the slide deck and the webinar recording over to everyone who registered for today's event. So watch out for those emails later today. As you may be able to tell by now, we have put everyone into listen-only mode, which means that you can enjoy the audio portion of today's session either by using your computer audio or by dialing in through your headphones. Of course, questions are strongly encouraged. Do not hold back. We have planned a special Q&A at the end of today's session, but you may also submit questions as you go along, and then we will try to address them on the fly. As you can tell, today's session follows a logical flow. First, I want to discuss a few market forces that really shape today's cloud application market. We will then briefly introduce eFolder Cloud Finder to give you an overview of the features in case you are not a current Cloud Finder partner, and then dive into a partner chat to give you a better idea of real-life application cases. All right. So first off, I would like to introduce our partner for today's webinar, John Hugan. John is based in Norway, and he found eFolder because he was looking for a cloud-to-cloud backup solution and just Googled us. So that's great. And now John started deploying the Cloud Finder solution in 2015 and has found it really appealing, which we like to hear. So hi, John, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Helen.
Great. So would you mind just saying a few words about your business so the audience understands what you guys are doing?
We are a local service provider to SMBs in Bergen. Which means we do deliver the whole IT department as a service. We also provide automated backups nationally, where we also have a distributor that are gaining partners for our portfolio of backup services. So we are creating a distributor chain of ourselves based on our best practices to our end users based on backups. So that's us.
Great. All right. Perfect. Thank you. So I'm just going to get started on the topic and jump right into that. So John, if you want to mute yourself, you can do that for now. And we'll come back to you later.
Indeed.
All right. So let's start off by talking about market forces first. This is probably no news to any of you on the line today because you're working with us on a daily basis. But the move to the cloud is happening. And it's not just happening, it's happening really fast. And it's a massive shift. So more and more businesses, whether it's small and medium enterprises or big corporations, are now really moving the majority of their business to the cloud. And just to give you a couple statistics so you have more context for the overall discussion, research assumes that by 2018, over $180 billion will be spent on cloud services of any kind. And yes, that shift will happen in the US much faster, or the fastest, especially compared to Europe because the whole ecosystem and infrastructure is already in place. But it really is a global shift that can be observed. And already by 2014, the workload that was run in the cloud exceeded that run on premises. Studies also assume or found out that, especially in Europe, on average, the average company uses 987 different cloud service providers. So that's definitely a number that should be noted, because it means that, that shift is happening, and MSPs or businesses of any kind really should be prepared for that. So what you can see is that in a couple other different dimensions, the vast majority of small and medium businesses today are really using some form of software as a service application or the cloud. And the growth of those cloud services is leaving on-premises behind. Now, we here at eFolder, for example, have been in the MSP channel for a really long time, and we have over 2,600 MSP partners working with us today around the world. So there is a ton of infrastructure and business that is run in the cloud, but it is really more about the rate of growth. And the rate of growth of cloud applications like Office 365 or Google Apps is really far outstripping that on-premise Exchange deployment. So when we look at what the most common cloud applications are, these are the names that probably come to mind first: Office 365, Google for Work, Salesforce, and Box. But the reality, and that's what people often don't realize, is that the shift to cloud applications is happening, but that doesn't mean that there isn't resilience to shift, because there definitely is. So a big worry here is data loss, right? If you can't see where your data is being stored, usually both enterprises and end users are very hesitant to store their entire business in a cloud application. But what you should know is that the big challenge for your business and your client base is not an outage of Office 365 or Google Apps, because in reality, that is a really rare occurrence, and that is not the big challenge today, because big companies like Microsoft or like Salesforce really are experts at running apps that are scalable in the cloud and then keep them up and running. And the noteworthy outages over the years really have become fewer and fewer. So the big issue to actually think about really here is that once the production system is set up and running in the cloud, you need exactly the same level of backup and retention capabilities that you originally had for on-prem software applications, because those traditionally did have very robust disaster recovery capabilities just sitting behind it, if you will, and then were able to quickly recover data stored in those applications. And that's, eFolder's biggest business today is really backup and disaster recovery, where we offer cloud-based and on-site recovery and then also protect all that data against any kind of disaster that could occur, whether that's a server failing or a natural disaster or even just user error. Because it happens, right? Servers get corrupted, users do make an error, and data can get deleted. So there's very robust data protection on premises today in most businesses. Now, the problem is that with the shift to the cloud, while the underlying application is going to be highly resilient, users are still users, and users are the biggest risk to business data. So, the inadvertent deletion of data that may be responsive to lawsuits or internal investigations, or employees who may be trying to cover their tracks to destroy data, admins who may accidentally goof up on a migration. All of these things could really threaten your data security. And once the environment is in the cloud, you have to be just as attuned to data loss. And so data loss in the cloud is a huge reality, because users are still the weakest link in the data protection chain. So when or if you use any of the services above, or your clients do, you really have to keep two things in mind. Number one is that the users can still destroy data. And number two is that each one of these applications has sort of a tiered offering going everywhere from an MSP flavor of the product to a consumer-grade version. And then one step up from that, you usually have the SMB version, and then you have the enterprise version. And in every level of these offerings, you do have different retention and data protections in place. So the problem with that is that users are often not aware that there are different retention policies to be aware of, and very few people actually have the time to do that extensive of a research. So what I'm going to do in the next couple of slides is just walk you through these 4 very commonly deployed applications and then review with you what the standard retention policies are and the risks that can be derived from that. So first off, I would like to talk about Office 365. Office 365 is very relevant for eFolder and our channel partners because the vast majority of them are Microsoft partners, and we have all deployed Office environments for well over a decade. Because after all, email still remains the most critical application in any business today. And Office 365 just offers a very compelling bundle of software as a service that's available for Microsoft. And some people may be taking it at different speeds, but Microsoft does offer a very enticing set of features that just fits into many businesses of any stripe, really, because we have calendars, emails, collaboration technology, and a very well put together set. But as you can see, there are holes and gaps that come with the SMB and even the enterprise version of the product, and there are data risks and data losses associated with that. So let's first talk about the first of 4 major components and discuss what those risks are, SharePoint Online. So SharePoint Online is included in Office 365, and it is the key thing you need to realize with SharePoint, is that the risk of users destroying data and not realizing it in time is fairly low. And that's because with SharePoint Online, you have recycle bin processes in line. So basically, when a user deletes something in SharePoint Online, it will stay in their own recycle bin for 30 days. And then after that, it will go into the site recycle bin for an additional 93 days, and then the second stage recycle bin for another 93 days. So that's a total of 216 days. And the likelihood that data gets destroyed or trashed and then somebody needs it later than that is fairly low to happen in this short amount of time. So what's the real challenge here? Well, the real challenge is that the larger the customer and the more sophisticated their use of SharePoint Online, the higher is the likelihood that there's sometime down the road, that we're talking weeks and months here, is that someone's discovering that some things have been destroyed or thrown out that had only lived online or on the machine it was local to, and that machine wasn't properly backed up and now been overwritten. And now you got a situation where the online system was the primary system of content, which now has been destroyed forever. And we see this a whole lot, especially in the education vertical, where small schools or colleges have adopted SharePoint Online as, their main docking and repository for a lot of the students' work. And what's ended up happening was that if students had deposited their main copy of their work into that system, then they graduated and moved on and, data gets destroyed or overwritten, they may come back later and ask for their work back, but that work is gone forever. So really, for SharePoint Online, there is no additional archiving add-on that could be installed onto the application. So the risk here is that somebody throws away something that's needed in a short amount of time is pretty low. But as you deal with more sophisticated users or companies that have a lot of users coming and going, the risk of permanently losing critical data and work goes up. And in each one of these phases, there are footnotes. As you can see, we have footnotes in the slides that have very detailed retention policies. So when you receive those slides later this afternoon and want to read up more on that, you can use the footnotes to do that. Now, let's move on to email. Exchange Online is a key component of Office 365, right? And what you see here is that, first of all, this is really where the tiering process becomes vital and should really be looked into in more detail. Because the first issue is that if you deploy Office 365 to your clients and they delete an email, that's going to be able to stay in the deleted folder indefinitely. So that's good, right? However, users can go in and edit or purge their entire deleted items folder. And now what could happen is that within 30 days, that email after the purge of the inbox will be gone forever. And now again, you have the situation where you have a robust system, you have business critical information, and yet users can go in and completely purge content that may be vital in the future. You know, if there's a lawsuit or investigation, or if there's simply a business need to get access to critical information. Now, Microsoft does acknowledge the importance of long-term retention and archiving capability for mail. And so they do have an add-on archiving function called online archiving. And that's included in the enterprise standard offering, but that enterprise offering is also the most expensive one. If you can't afford it or if it doesn't apply to your business, you don't have an archiving add-on included in the SMB version, but you can add it for $3 per user per month directly from Microsoft. But really, the important point on this slide here is that archiving is not part of the default solution, so you need to be thinking through what your long-term, plan is going to be for Office 365. And then the last piece that we're going to talk about is OneDrive for Business. Again, very similar to SharePoint Online. The likelihood that a user is going to delete something and then in a short amount of time doesn't recover that it's missing is pretty low, because there is the same concept inherited from SharePoint with, a secondary recycling bin that admins can control. But again, it's less than 200 days, so not that great length of a time to really store data more permanently, and there is no retention add-on available for businesses. Now, very interestingly, there's also a situation where a lot of collaboration or sync systems today, it's very common that the primary copy of a document may live in the online system, but not locally anymore. So that's for a wide number of reasons, for collaboration purposes or because of the way users are working on that content. And the risk here is that if an admin deletes a user from the cloud, for example, because they recently quit their job, all of that content will be gone within 14 days. So with organizations and the frequency in which people change jobs these days, there really is a big risk for data loss. Because if the admin fails to transfer, user account data, 14 days is not a lot of time to get that back. And I also want to quickly talk about retention policies for Google Apps. So the picture here is a little simpler, but also a little more extreme in some ways. So with Google Apps, items that are put into the trash on either the entry-level Google Apps version or the Gmail or the work versions, without any additional add-ons, items that have been put into the trash and will be purged after 30 days cannot be recovered. There are additional faults that can be purchased, and that fault offers long-term retention capabilities, but many users simply don't realize that data can this easily be deleted forever. And especially Gmail is a very popular email platform that a lot of end users use, a lot of businesses use, because it's very intuitive, and the risks are simply not known. Now, in the case of Google Drive, the risks here are similar. So a Google Drive document that is put into the trash and then purged, that data can be gone forever. And if you add on faults, which you can do, it doesn't provide additional protection for Google Drive. And now, the scariest one for many companies is Salesforce. So looking at Salesforce, it's continuing to be more and more adopted by businesses worldwide, right? They are a market leader, and so companies of all sizes really can easily adopt the platform. But one of the problems here, one of the huge problems with Salesforce, is that the built-in retention capabilities are extremely limited. What you often find is that there are usually many admins in a Salesforce environment. And so the biggest risk here is that they can overwrite, corrupt, delete, eliminate data and records. And since it only sits in the recycle bin for 15 days, and no additional add-ons can be purchased, that's a huge problem. And for anyone using Salesforce, you probably realize how much of a problem it would be if all that data was lost. So Salesforce being Salesforce, of course, they have taken that into consideration. So the data is only recoverable for additional 90 days after those 15 days. So what do you do after those 90 days, right? Well, Salesforce added that option where you can pay the company a flat rate of $10,000 and wait up to 20 days to get that data back. So no matter how big your corporation or your little, MSP business, it's $10,000 if you want to recover your Salesforce data. I need the company's help through that. And lastly, we have Box. Now, Box is actually pretty impressive in the way that they have the 3 tiers, and they recently added more robust configurable retention for Box for Business, which was a good move on their part. So the admin in the Box account can go in and configure the system in a way where no matter what the users do, no data can be permanently destroyed, which is great. The actual problem here is that it's the lack of retaining data from users who have been deleted. You can transfer that data from one user to another, but if admins fail to do that, that data is lost. Now, this brings us to, okay, we explored the problem. We are aware of the risks with retention policies and common cloud applications. What do we do about that? Now, we're trying to paint the picture that just like on-premise technology, data protection is highly complex, and there are many potholes and issues that really can occur and can jeopardize business data. And so especially as an MSP, your clients trust you to keep their data safe and to make their data recoverable no matter what the situation. And so finding technology to add on extra levels of support and configuration to improve these services can really help you set you and your business apart from your competition. And that's where eFolder Cloud Finder comes in. Cloud Finder is a company based in Sweden that eFolder acquired in July 2014, and it's been a great synergy since. Because this product line is eFolder's solution for data protection for SaaS and cloud applications. So we do support backup of the 4 most commonly used applications, the 4 I've just discussed. And what it allows you to do is to take any of these applications and connect it to Cloud Finder in a very simple way. And then once you do that, it provides restoring features for any of these services. So any of the issues I've just discussed can quickly be resolved by just offering additional backup to a second site, like a data center that you control. Because the other big challenge that organizations are facing, especially medium to big enterprises, is that you have data becoming siloed, and then the MSP doesn't have a unified way to see all that data. And as you may or may not know, that can make it really complicated to cross-search for that data. And so full-text search is really the killer feature of Cloud Finder, since all data that comes in is being indexed. And that makes recovery very fast and very convenient. So really, no matter the scenario, there's anything from basic restores to actually restoring content and users and data right back into the application. And really, this all gives MSPs the ability to govern client data, and it allows you to build managed services on top of cloud applications. So one of the first things here is that we talked about siloed data. And one of the cool things about Cloud Finder is that you can deploy the solution to any of the cloud applications you're using and then de-silo that data. As you can see, we support anything from emails to files, attachments, but also metadata up to restoring entire accounts. So just like any good software application, you probably want it to be highly automated and reliable to basically back up the data 3 times a day. So we have an encrypted safe haven backup for that, that makes that possible and increase your security. And we also talked about full text search, right? So we already index all the data that comes in, and then you can search across all types of content by keywords, and or use search criteria like file types, and can get access to really rich file versioning. And really what it allows you to do is it gives you the ability to really control and manage your client's data that could occur in cloud applications. Just to explain how restores work, of course you could simply download the content as an admin to a local machine if you want, but more commonly what's happening is that you can restore your user accounts to a different user, or take whole folders and move them to a different account. And all these cross-user restores are very simple to do right in the application. And then something that is often very important to MSPs is monitoring, right? Getting all the information you need at one glance. And we do that. So there is rich monitoring and reporting out there. So the fact that you can just log in and check up on the backups and make sure that they've been completed is a very critical part to an MSP routine. And lastly, we talked about encryption. So the data is encrypted both in transit and at rest, and we do have a series of third-party validation to reflect on the level of security that's being provided. We have data centers. We have 2 data centers in the US, one in Canada and one in Amsterdam. So we can ensure that your data is stored in the EU under EU privacy guidelines, which especially for MSPs and their end users, that's usually very important to know. So just to summarize, and then I'm done talking this much, CloudFinder can defend against both malicious or natural data loss that could occur across common SaaS applications. And on top of that, it can provide business continuity and prepare really for any kind of data loss that could come your way. And also really help with stricter regulatory requirements that small to medium businesses could face related to data retention. And on top of all that, it really gives you the ability to educate your clients on a problem they didn't even know they had. And instead of letting them worry about it, you give them access to a solution very quickly and very straightforwardly. So with that, I hope I gave you an overview of the features and what you should know about the solution and the risks associated with cloud services, so that you get a better idea of how the application can be used in real life. And for that, I would like to go back to John and just discuss a few real-life application cases and how he's deploying the solution. John, are you back on audio?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, perfect. So maybe we could just walk through the questions.
Yes.
So first off, first question, what was the motivating factor to you and to your business for deploying a cloud backup solution?
Well, since 2003 and onwards, we've been creating our businesses around the Microsoft Solve All Business Server. This is the portfolio with the local exchange. And on those servers, we always had at least 6 months retention on all data. Subsequently, we got our own hosted exchange solution for our end users, and of course, we had the same amount of retention policy there. So hence, to keep providing the same level of retention to the exchange service as earlier, we just had to deploy it. That's our main motivation for deploying the CloudFinder and cloud-to-cloud backup.
Right. Nice. So similar to what I've just discussed.
Yeah, indeed. It is securing our customers at the same with the same amount as earlier. Indeed.
Right. Nice. I'm hearing a little bit of backup, by the way. Are you on speaker or something?
No, I can try to lower my speaker and.
Yeah, maybe that's good. So next question: before you access CloudFinder, did you or your clients face data loss in cloud applications?
Yeah, we have. both losing data and, of course, valuable work hours due to corruption of mailboxes, and also write-down sabotage by earlier employees or still acting employees. So there have been episodes of data loss, and of course work that didn't need to be done has been done again.
Yeah. So exactly that issue of you never know what could happen, but the risk of users letting it happen somehow, whether maliciously or accidentally, is just out there and can cause MSPs a lot of work, of course. So, sorry. Yeah. So when you started looking for a cloud-to-cloud backup solution, did you evaluate any other products or service offerings?
We did, but to take it back, first we actually started to search for a solution to create local backups of PST, for then subsequently backing them up with our online backup. So that was the first effort on the matter, and then searched around a bit, and then I came across you. But of course, there's other products as well. We've been trying Code2, Skykick, and Cloud Alley. So it's good products, and they're all doing their things regarding the restore and backup of data. But it's the ease of use of Cloud Finder, and of course, there's space to make us do the service to our customers as a service, not end user focus. That's the main deal, and of course the SharePoint backups. I don't think there are good SharePoint backups out there for the online SharePoint. So that's something that's valued from our point of view, and of course our end users' point of view as well.
Great, that's good to hear. And when you sell the solution to your clients, can you try and turn me down a little more because I can still hear myself?
No, I can't hear you at all. Ask you maybe the questions.
Oh. Sorry. So when you sell the solution to your clients, are they willing to pay for it, or do you feel that they're hesitant to add another cloud application or another service they can't really see the necessity in?
Well, of course, there's always hesitation regarding to new costs in IT environment or IT budget. The question is really if they are interested in recovering emails that are more than 30 days old.
Right.
And of course, that's our main question, and we, as their IT department, reckons that they are.
They trust you to pick the right
they
solution?
trust us to deliver the same service as we did earlier.
Exactly.
So we strongly advise them to do it, and actually we just made it happen. We deployed it without asking them, and I think they're happy with us for that.
Right.
And then our service is subscription based. So whenever there is another service to put into our services, we need a price correction. And the price correction regarding this matter is to increase the monthly price on the already subscription of Office 365. That's what we are doing. We're not doing Google. We are not doing any Salesforce or anything, but it's Office 365. That's our main focus.
Great. All right. And that kind of answers my next question. How do you price and package Cloud Finder?
Yeah, indeed, to end users, we do it by users. This in addition to the monthly subscription per user. To our partners and resellers, we do it either as a pay-as-you-go basis or as a package price base. thing.
Okay, nice. And did you ever get feedback from your clients, or do you have feedback from your own experience on how CloudFinder has supported either your business or your clients' businesses?
I think we've been, it gives us first and foremost opportunity to provide exchange services at the same level of security that we did earlier. That's our main support we get from CloudFinder. But of course, as an organization, we've been, you have been quite helpful to support us in a matter of issues we've had during implementation. And of course, also helped in other ways, technically and otherwise. But of course, you have a good portfolio of use cases and best practices, and of course, white papers on the product as well that are easy to reuse out to end users as well.
Right. Yeah. Maybe just for anyone who's not an eFolder partner, it might be good to know that. Just because I'm coming from the marketing angle of eFolder, we do spend a lot of our time producing marketing collateral for our partners that can be white brandable and easily be pushed out, whether that's a white paper or a video recording or a product presentation. And because what we see a lot of times, especially with CloudFinder, it's a risk users are not aware of. So as you said, John, it's something they're very hesitant to pay for. Just like insurance, you don't need it until you need it. So what we see with CloudFinder is that it's necessary to deploy to increase client security, but it definitely does require a higher amount of education on the MSP end. And in order to help with that, we provide as much marketing support, as much technical support as possible or as needed. So did you, I mean, I like your version of we just pushed it out to our clients. Did you have to do a lot of convincing or a lot of education, or did you simply tell them it's going to increase your security, take it?
Our main issue at the moment is trying to educate the MSPs as well as you do. I think there's that's the door stopper for any effort out to end users. End users, I don't say they're ignorant, but the cloud seems very attractive to anyone. Of course, the cloud is also a bit of a mess indeed. So what you need to do is actually assume that they want this as well, because this is a part of securing any cloud services that they should be used.
Right. And it's also very intangible to work with the cloud because a lot of end users just can't envision what it means to have your data stored on. What we see a lot of times is that end users think, oh, you know, my data's in the cloud, so it should be safe. But yeah, reality is it's often just not. So since we have a lot of MSPs on the line, did you gather any best practices along the way of deploying cloud-to-cloud backup that you could share?
Like I said, you should just assume that your customer wants this. If they put their data to the cloud already, then you should assume that this is a product or a feature of your service that they want as well. Right.
Nice. Perfect. And do you have any future deployment plans for this year? Have you ramped up all your clients on the solution?
We have all our end users that we are committing to in our collaboration organization on the CloudFinder, and we have a steadily increasing number of also end users coming to us from both Norway and also Finland. We got a customer. We also are planning on giving as many partners here in Norway the ability to sell CloudFinder as well. So we are on your mission on this one, I think.
Great, nice, perfect. How do the clients find you? Do they do you get your prospects through word of mouth or active marketing, or do they find you?
Our end users?
Yeah.
They find us through different kinds of channels, but mainly it's through the internet, and of course the occasional content marketing we're doing, but mainly through local, of course, contacts we're already having, and we're gaining as we are having changed our businesses from being a service by our business as a service by service business. We've been more attractive also for the end users, as they know they're getting a good, fair service at a reasonable cost, and it's quite what do you say?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Quite fitting business model. Yeah, nice. All right, that's all the questions that I had for you. That hopefully give the audience a good idea of, how to deploy Cloud Finder and the need you saw and the need your client saw. So if you want to mute yourself again, you can feel free to do that while I'm wrapping up the presentation. And if there are questions, we can go back to that later.
Yeah. Well, of course, we can also, if there's any of you wanting to contact me as a witness regarding this later on, you're perfectly free to do that.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. I'll include your a link to your email in the emails that I'll send out after the webinar, so that people who want to reach out to you can directly do that. Thank you. All right. So just to wrap this up, if you are looking to deploy Cloud Finder but are not quite sure if this is a product that would work for you or fit your business model, feel free to try it yourself through the link below, and again that will be in the slide deck as well, so that you can just trial it, see how it works, see how you like to navigate it. And we do currently have a special offering related to 500 Cloud Finder licenses, so our team will reach out to you about that if interest is there. All right, so that concludes our session. Does anyone have any questions or would like clarification on anything? I don't see anything coming in. And as John said, of course, if you would like to contact him directly or have questions after, feel free to reach out to him or me about this. Hopefully that gave you a good idea. All right, no questions coming in. Sounds like we clarified all that. It's a lot of information came in. Just one question. Okay, all right. Yeah, you're welcome, everyone. And have a great rest of the week. Happy Easter to anyone who's got time off over the holidays. And stay tuned for any upcoming webinars in April. Thank you and have a great day.